You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. Hey, we're covering Collision Conference. We're going to be interviewing about, I think, about 5 or 6 different companies from the Collision Conference in Toronto, Canada, 2022, if you're watching this later. And we've got an amazing lady. She's on the show with us today. She is Nicole Ogloza. She is the founder and CEO of Etha, or Etha, however you want to take and pronounce it. Welcome to the show, Nicole. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Thanks for coming. We certainly appreciate it. Now, you guys have a booth there at the Collision Conference. Give us your .coms or your .one, I should say, so that people can find you guys on the interweb.
Sure. Yeah. You can find us at Etha.one. It's actually not .com. So we wanted to use the .one because we want, obviously the whole world together one day.
There you go. Etha.one. And so give us an overview of what your company does and how they do it.
Sure thing. So basically what we're working on, it's a social and a news media app that is using AI to prevent political polarization primarily. As you know, in the U.S., it's pretty bad.
Is there polarization in the U.S.?
Really, I don't know. But yeah, primarily we're trying to fix, the polarized climate. And then after that, we're also trying to help with misinformation a little bit further through that and provide extreme exposure to and transparency to the news media and politics. I think now it's super important to hold our politicians accountable for what they say or do. And this is the first app of its kind that allows you to do that. And then eventually we'll be able to have an area in the media where our AI was able to cut through the noise and really find things that have been mentioned before straight from the source and track it over time to show how narratives and misinformation as well as fake stories arise in the news media.
Now, this is pretty cool. This is an app you can get on your mobile phone. So it's available on Google Play. It's in the iTunes. I'm actually downloading it right now and signing up. And it mentions here on the app that it helps hold politicians accountable. How does that work?
Yeah, so there's 2 parts to this. There's a leader Q score and then a user Q score. I guess you could kind of think of this, if anyone in the crowd has watched Black Mirror before, kind of a similar application. But what a leader Q score does is that, let's say you're voting and commenting and sharing about that politician on a platform. Over time, these scores are amassed almost like a report card. And over time, you could actually see in real time that these politicians, how they fare in the news media from basically what they say or what they do. And then this also is directly reflecting on the person as well that's also commenting about them. So if you're a constructive user, also trying to get to the bottom of a situation or law or policy or something like that, constructive users will be better on this platform. But, if you're deconstructive and sending spam links, viruses, or just not being helpful at all, this also affects your score. Kind of like Reddit, but not as severe. And the other thing is we don't ban people off of our platform.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you download it on your phone. I'm taking a look at it now. I got my bio set, or I got my name set up and stuff. And so I can take a look at different leaderboards and what's trending. Tell me a little bit about how that works.
Yeah, so the leaderboards, those actually show all of the politicians on the platform. It's still in the pretty early stages, but a long story short, this shows like who and what politician is trending the best based on what they're saying in the media. So I guess the first person that's up there has 888 points. This person has been probably, doing well in the media and promising whatever they're promising through their campaigns. Similarly, the politicians that don't promise very well in the media will obviously fall to the bottom of the score. This is also updated in real time as things go along. And these scores are actually calculated in the long run, right? So let's say there's 500 statements about Trump or Biden, right? those are calculated over time to an overall score with overall population, like almost judging them kind of thing.
Wow. So now the app, so basically is the hope that maybe some of these politicians will start worrying about their score to make sure they have a good score, maybe?
That's kind of the whole point. I think that, they've always been able to take opinions on us as the general public. And I think now it's time to flip the script a little bit. But this also isn't a bad thing. This could actually help the way that politicians communicate to the news media and vice versa. And same thing with holding journalists accountable and pranksters, exposing all of that kind of stuff to help cleanse the ecosystem in the media.
Mm-hmm. Now, it'll help news stories in real time through crowdsource things get rated as well. Is that just attached news stories that are attached to the politician then?
Yeah, so right now they're the ones that are kind of attached to it. So eventually it'll be like, you could see that first statement that's ever been mentioned anywhere on social, video, audio, any of that. And you could actually see like the source of it and confirmed source, right? So like, let's say a politician is at an event, there's 70 people using the Etha app. They could actually say and verify that this actually happened as opposed to one video kind of being moderated on media. But another element is that crowdsourcing can also help with pseudo events in the media and preventing those kind of fake events that do occur in the media. And it's like almost like a wisdom of the crowds, you could kind of say.
And so it looks like you've got let's see if I can put somebody up. Here's the let me see if I can hold this up so people can see it on the screen. I'm not sure if it's going to come out too well. Yeah, so you've got an upvote, you've got a downvote, basically with the agree and disagree. And then you can leave a comment, and then you can share individual stuff on social media or wherever you want. This is kind of interesting. You guys have the sourcing for it too, so I can go to where the source is and actually see the information.
So right now, that's like kind of how generally all news mediums work, but eventually we'll have a whole web where you can see and play around with the whole web and see just what you're reading that's fake and what's not. It's actually really cool and interactive graphs. So media companies actually do have them internal to their companies, but what we're trying to do is actually expose what's inside of our company and make it open source so people can actually see and play around, with very difficult topics. Let's say if it's an infrastructure bill, what we'll do in this little net is actually showcase and boil it down point by point. So that way people can be educated about the article before they actually start commenting and sharing on our app. And that's really important because, media literacy, depending on, what age bracket you fall in, some people aren't used to technology, right? And that's what we're trying to also aid with is help with education in the news media.
Yeah.
But through comedy, that's kind of what I wanted to do, have a more comedic spin rather than focusing on the kind of fear mongering that is in the media right now. Yeah,
I like this because it kind of cuts right to the point. People can look at the topics, and it educates them. Now, according to this, my news here, your AI can invalidate over 60% of current news stories. Is those like opinion-based news stories or places that come from that Snopes doesn't needs to check or something?
Yeah, so let's take Fox News as an example. This would be a pretty big deal for them. If honestly, if they don't work with us, then yes, it is actually possible to discredit about 60% of their business because of the way that they use media tactics, right? So there's a lot of fake news out there, but the way that the media works is that large media houses like Fox, CNN, they have reporters or they actually go on smaller blogs to find those juicy headlines. They don't necessarily have time to check for news or fact check things and things like that. So it kind of gets really lost in the sauce. And then over time, that's how they blow up to these ridiculous narratives and absolute chaos that you see in the media. I've actually been told that the world is a boring place, but media makes it exciting. So that's kind of what we're trying to do is boil it down.
Definitely. And hopefully this can make people understand topics more. When I talk to people, we have a lot of political books and authors that come on the show, people from the news media. And, when I go talk to my friends, I'm amazed at how out of touch they are. And this does seem a lot more easier to go through and look at what people are saying. And then, of course, one of the other problems is now no one knows who the representatives are unless they're really into politics like I am. Like, they don't know who their senator is. They don't know who their House of Representatives, whether it's a state or national.
Yeah, that's a pretty big problem. And what we're trying to eventually do is use this system. I guess you could kind of say, oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So what we're kind of trying to do is, over time, people will actually be able to be in their community, and like, let's say there's a pothole, right? And people start getting hurt over it, right? And it's not being escalated to the right person. This platform will actually be used to help escalate certain processes and help, like, with law and policy making, saying like, hey, people are dying over here. Let's fix this thing first before anything else, all the way down from a granular community level to the rest of the world eventually.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. I think it's good for educating people because they can kind of know who their representatives are and what representatives out there are talking about, and kind of see their own spin. Anything more we need to know about the product and what you guys are doing there at Collision?
Yeah, I mean, now we're just like trying to get the word out there as much as possible. But another thing that we're doing is also fundraising for community rounds. So anyone is actually available, like anyone that would like to take part either in helping us build our product. Again, it's for people. We're not actually directly connected to any politicians or big techies or anything like that. We're actually trying to get communities to help chip in and see our product and also build it with us because, it's the future.
Definitely.
So yeah, that's some way, people can get involved with. We have Stacey Abrams actually on a call in about 5 or 6 weeks. And what we're doing with her is that she's actually going to be sitting with her community and saying like, hey, this is what our problems are. How do we solve it? And then what me and my co-founder are going to do is actually map out the whole system of how people would like to actually bridge that gap between a politician and their communities. And, really start getting people to start talking again.
That's definitely important. People need to talk more and communicate more and talk about different things. I'm setting up my little profile here, but I noticed it's got an Invest Now button in the app. So if you're in the app, that's where they can go invest with you guys and become part of the program. Yeah.
So through WeFunder and, things like that. We've done a little bit through WeFunder, about 20,000, but that's what we're trying to do and spread the word out. If anyone that's listening, they have a connection either in political, technology, or other space or media, like this is kind of what we should really get out there because it's going to really help all of us. Anyone that's involved with media, down to the general public and even politicians. This isn't one of those scary things that's going to kind of ruin the very fabric of disruption of startups, but it's definitely going to be able to help media sort through some things and really actually see what politicians are saying because we're so far away from them that this has never been possible before except with technologies.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it, Nicole.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Chris.
There you go. And give us your .one again so that people can find it on the interweb.
Sure thing. So you can go to Google and search, or the Apple or Google store, Etha.one.
There you go. And anything that can make politics better, people understand them better, people being involved in voting and stuff, that's really important. I mean, I think like half this country doesn't vote at all, and that's kind of the problem.
I know, it's actually surprising. 159 million people voted last year, in the 2020 elections.
Yeah.
This was a record-breaking one, but if you actually look back in history, it's been declining.
Yeah.
Significantly. And I think it's because of the loss of the trust in the media and obviously our politicians, but you can't blame them because we didn't have these problems back then when we didn't have these technologies. So it's just sifting the information back and forth right now.
That's true. Well, thank you very much, Nicole, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure thing. See you later, Chris.
There you go. Thank you. And thanks, Monis, for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys next time.